All right, guys, here we are. Welcome back to another episode of the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm your host, James, and it's been a while since I've been um, recording because it's just been a busy couple weeks. My last interview was with Khalees from the Recovery Coach Academy, which I thought was an amazing interview. Those guys are wonderful people doing great things in the recovery community. So big shout out to the Recovery Coach Academy again, um, because yeah, they're really out there putting the work in for people in recovery. Um, so yeah, it's just been a busy couple weeks. I just had my little baby turn 1, so there's parties and all that kind of stuff that comes into it. Life kind of takes over. But yeah, I just been feeling really grateful for like the positive connections, and that's what I'd like to talk about in this episode is in recovery, building those positive connections with people and also rebuilding positive connections with people in your life, um, because it's hugely important um, to your recovery, like going forward. So, like, the beauty of having these positive connections is it fills your life with like positivity because in active addiction, you're just struggling, you're down, and all your interactions are negative and depressing and hopeless and helpless, and you just feel horrible all the time. So obviously the connections you're making are horrible connections, they're just terrible. So what I want to talk about is, yeah, the positive connections and how that helped me in my recovery and hopefully can help others in recovery as well, as that you find these meaningful connections. I know 11 and a half years ago when I decided to get sober, I had to, you know, rebuild a lot of relationships in my life, even with my parents and my brother and things like that, because I had done a lot of stuff, you know, that had made them feel a certain way about me. Um, I always felt like I was the fuck up or the one who, you know, got into lots of trouble and, you know, trouble for drinking and fighting and drinking and all that stuff, DUIs and, you know, all the drama that came with my abusing of alcohol, which kind of damaged my relationship with my brother and, my mom and dad because I put them under a lot of stress and stuff. Like they were really, just wanting the best for me. And I was just making horrible decision after horrible decision after horrible decision. So that's, yeah, it was really tough. So coming out and finding recovery, I got to build up the connection between my family again. And, it wasn't too late to do that. I was able to repair the relationships. And, as far as like my mom and my dad, they got to see me 3 years sober before my mom had passed away. So she was super happy and super proud of me for, getting sober and stuff, and our relationship kinda got back to what it used to be. I was very close with my mom, and she was very important in my life, and, yeah, so building that bond back was hugely important to me as I got sober, um, because, connection between um, a mother and son is huge. So yeah, so it was really good to do that. I think my brother and me have become closer since I found recovery. I think we've repaired all the hurt and the damage that I had done previously with some of my negative behaviors and drinking and abusing the drink and taking advantage of my parents and just kind of being a terrible person in general for a while. I think he lost a lot of faith in me and a lot of trust in me, because I wasn't reliable. I wasn't doing what I needed to. I couldn't keep a job. I was, mooching off my parents. I was, moving back into their house when I couldn't afford to be out on my own. It was just a chaotic time. And I think he, being older than me, we have a 17-year discrepancy. So to put that in context, I am going to be 43. So if you want to do the math there, he's a bit older. Um, so he yeah, he struggled with it because I put him in an awkward situation. Like he never stopped loving me, but I know that the things I was doing upset him greatly. But I think he knew that no matter what he would say to me, it wasn't going to change anything in those moments. So he just had to, you know, pull back and wait for me to figure shit out, you know? And I think now our relationship is, you know, an amazing relationship of, brotherly love. I mean, you know, we've built back the bond. We've spent a lot of time together. Um, we're as close as any brothers could be with 17 years in between them. I mean, he's come over to England a couple times. So, he's like my huge support system. So I'm very lucky that I got to salvage that relationship because it could have been, you know, fuck this, I'm done. And he could have just walked away. And honestly, sometimes in that instance, I wouldn't have blamed him because it was a pretty bad shit show that I was putting on, you know. But luckily, we rebuilt, we've reconnected, and we talk like, you know, twice a month, video chats, talk about life and what's going on and what's happening. I'm sure he'll listen to this podcast and hear me talking about him. Um, but yeah, he's a great guy, and he's really always been there for me as a brother, and I'm glad that we rebuilt the positive connections and will continue to build positive connections as family. um Other things are is like I built a lot of positive connections once I got clean. I started to find myself building more meaningful relationships, like getting you know more better relationships with my friends that I was maybe y- doing things that were negatively affecting them, indirectly, by getting into fights while they were around, like just stuff like that, or like throwing up in their sink. I did that to my friend and walked out of his house, and his wife woke up to vomit in their sink in the morning, and she was mad, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know what happened," but he knew it was me. So like I put my friends in like awkward positions, um, because of my behaviors. So, um, yeah, I got to kind of like bond with my friends again. And, I got lucky because I was really anxious about telling them that I was going to, quit drinking. And, luckily they were all quite supportive and loving. And, they were like, oh, good for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, they're all still very supportive to this day. So that's hugely important to me, is that the friendships I made were real and legit, and that they were my friends and they weren't just, around me because I was this party guy, or, anything that had to do with all the negative shit I was doing. They were actually my friends. So, realizing that those positive connections were real. And then I went into like jujitsu and MMA and kind of got immersed in that for a while. And, yeah, but building those relationships was phenomenal because, it just gave me such these guys were such positive, driven people. They trained all the time. They when they weren't training, they were working out, they were eating right, they were doing all these things, to positively influence their life. So it kind of took over with me as well, is that I started doing all those things, and really, you know, was a huge influence on my life in my early recovery. You know, those guys were hugely supportive of me. They pushed me to my limits. They tested me. And I think is one of the things that kept me focused and kept me going in my recovery, is that I had that outlet, and I had those guys to go in the gym and train with, and, you know, get knocked around and get hit and knock other people around and just get all that stuff out of me. And, yeah, they became, great friends, um, and great outlets and positive connections to be able to, you know, keep me sober and keep me moving in the right direction. And and that's what it did. It just kept me moving forward. So in my early recovery, those things were quite important because those connections were what fueled me to move forward, and then it pushed me to do other things and put other challenges in front of me, to be able to, compete in jujitsu tournaments or, you know, run 5Ks and, just do things to put positive things in my life. I feel really big about karma and karmatic, um, like what you get what you put out. So like if I put out like a ton of crappy stuff. So I feel like now like the more good stuff I put out kind of like balances that karma scale in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know why I think this, but I just think that um yeah, I did a bunch of really horrible shit to people, and now is my chance to do as much good as possible. So these positive connections fuel that. They fueled me to do, better things. And, also the positive relationships and positive connections that I made at work and stuff like that. I started being able to set goals and achieve them, and, you know, follow some career paths that I you know, didn't know where it was going to take me or what I really wanted to do or like what my skill set was, because I'd been drunk and belligerent for so long that, I couldn't really hold a job for long. So, I'd just piss them away. Uh, so yeah, so like being sober and being clean and making these positive connections. And like, I really worked hard to like find a job, work really hard at it, try to get promoted. Like I was looking for ways to like build my life and build my career. And yeah, luckily enough, I ended up, finding a job, working really hard, getting promoted to like a team leader at some point, and then transitioned into management. So I made these positive connections that pushed me forward to challenge myself to do, you know, things that I before just never would have thought I was capable of doing. Like I never would have thought like I would end up like working as a manager or managing. I couldn't even manage my life, you know? I couldn't manage not to go out and get into a absolute fist fight with like 6 people. So how could I manage anything else, you know? But here we are 11 years later, assistant manager at a busy restaurant in an airport. So it's possible. I did it. I set the goal. I achieved it. But again, it was with making positive choices and positive connections. Like I got in to a job. I made friends there. I built relationships with the people I worked with. I worked hard. And those relationships pushed me to the front of the line when it came to promotions and things like that. It got me in the right positions. And I still believe that to this day that my hard work and my efforts will push me, and my good connections will put me in places that I need to be. And I think that's what happens. You create these positive connections, and they put you where you need to be when you need to be there. So I got lucky and got promoted, and that was the beginning of my career in management. So, and which is taken over, I brought it over to the UK and started a management career over here from scratch, But that connection, that positive connection at my job that I held for 3 years, got me in a position where I became a manager. And then that now has started a career for me. So, I'm thankful for those connections. And like recently, I've been making huge positive connections in the recovery world over in the UK with the Recovery Coach Academy, Neetha and Khalees. I've done a recovery coaches basics class that I just finished. And those guys are great, man. Such a wonderful group of people out there just trying to promote recovery and push people to help other people, and give them the skills to do it. And, trying to put a spin on it that, let's celebrate recovery. Let's talk about what it looks like. Let's ask the right questions. And I think that's hugely important. So like the connections I've made with them has been tremendous because it's propelling my recovery even more. Like it's propelled me to do this podcast, this episode because of the positive connection I made with them. They've really had an impact on me, and they've came on the podcast and shared everything with you guys. So I'm hoping that if anybody's interested, if you're listening and you're interested in becoming an ally to people in recovery, they have classes for allies and people who just want to help. So uh, go to the Recovery Coach Academy and check out what they have to offer, because I think um, yeah, it comes from a really good and compassionate place, and it's definitely something that the recovery community needs. The people that are looking to find recovery, they need that type of positive and compassion and help. So huge shout out to them. They've been a huge positive connection that I'm really pleased I've made. Also, I had another huge positive connection. The guy who designed my logo, his name's Eddie. Uh, Great guy. Honestly, I feel like the universe. I know this probably sounds crazy and weird, but I just feel like the universe puts people in places at the right time. Like they put you in somebody's path. You know, like I put this thing out that I was looking to do. A logo, and yeah, there's like 60, 70 offers to like do this logo. And I looked through tons of them and I came across his stuff and I just thought, man, this stuff is really like speaking to me. Like I really want to, oh no, no, I just want to see what he can do. So I contacted him and we worked out some stuff, and we ended up doing the logo together. And, yeah, I've chatted with him since, and the guy's been, absolutely phenomenal. Like, never met him, but, he's just a great dude. Like, he's listening to the podcast now. He's, commenting on my stuff on socials. It's huge because, like, I never met the guy. I don't know him from Adam, He's just a guy. But, yeah, he's been hugely supportive and stuff like that, and that's a positive connection. It's a hugely positive connection. Like, I don't know him personally. We have no friendship or anything, previously, and now, he's reaching out and we're talking and we're chatting about stuff, and I got other ideas that I'm gonna potentially get to him because we're trying to. I've done some merchandise for the podcast, and I have a merch page up for my stuff. So anybody who's listening wants to grab some stuff, go over to Tragedy to Triumph at T-Mill, and there's some stuff. I'll drop the link in the bio for the YouTube. But yeah, so he's hugely been supportive of like creating stuff for that. So yeah, man, it's really cool to have these positive connections. One of the hugest positive connections I made in my life was, that changed my life, was meeting my wife. And again, I feel like the universe puts people in your path when they're supposed to be there. I think that was the time, I would think I was about 2 years sober. So I was just, I was at a really good place. I had got a year or so clean and sober and free from alcohol. So my life was in a better place. I was more stable. And I just met her at the right time. And I think, you know, that was huge. Like it was meant to happen that way. I feel like yeah, it was the universe's way of putting us in each other's paths. Because what are the chances that I meet her? You know, what are the chances that I meet her at a pub or at a at Striker's Pub in Pottsville, Pennsylvania? She's from Crawley, England. Like, what are the chances? I mean, it's got to be astronomical. So yeah, I mean, that was a huge positive connection. Meeting her changed my life. It's put me in a completely different space. It's given me things that I never thought possible. I have 2 little boys that I love very much, that I get to be, um, a presence in their life. I get to be a father. I get to share my experiences and my hopes and dreams for them. So that's, a huge positive connection that has, you know, transcended the time I've spent with her. I mean, it's huge. It's still a driving force in my life. Even we have our ups and downs, the good and the bad. But I couldn't picture my life without her. I know she probably is sick of me most times because I'm quite a pain in the ass. Um, but yeah, but these positive connections are like I think key in your early recovery, because you just start building them, block by block, relationship by relationship, and they become so important and pivotal in your recovery. I also met a friend through my wife because she worked with his wife, and yeah, I mean, me and him, we talk every day. Jamal Blunt, uh, great guy, wonderful dude, and he's my guy. Like, but like he doesn't know me as he doesn't know me during the drinking days. He doesn't know that person. He met the new person, the new me, and I built a huge positive relationship, a huge positive connection that I lean on a lot. I message him all the time. We talk. He's always there for me if shit gets wild or rough. So those are the things that keep you going forward, is the connections, the positive connections that help you on a daily basis. I mean, without those positive connections, who would I lean on? Where's my support system? Those guys are my support system. These people that I'm surrounding myself with now, because they're good people. I'm surrounding myself with the right people, you know. That's not to say the people I was with before weren't good people. It's just that all the shit we were doing was quite negative. So, um, the ones that are still doing that stuff, I don't talk to, and I haven't talked to in years. But the ones that have moved and transformed their lives and changed, um, like my boy Cisco, who's in Vegas, and he has a family, wife, kids. He has the whole thing. He built a life for himself, and we were wild boys together doing some crazy stuff. So he changed his life, and we still keep in touch. So I kept that connection, and we talked, and he's super proud of where I've got to, and where he knows where I come from. He knows the struggle I went through. So to see that we've kept that bond, that's a real relationship. That's a real positive connection that I made with somebody that I've continued to keep, years after the fact. So, and then the people that I didn't have a positive connection with, that I didn't have that were negative, that I don't associate with those people anymore. Those people aren't in my life. They they weren't necessary anymore because I moved on. I moved forward, and I built a life, and I built a future, and I continue to do that. I continue to build. I continue to recover, and I continue wanting to challenge myself and help people and build this brand and share this with other people. And I hope that that you know is good enough for people to help everybody, to help anyone that's struggling or feeling like they're not worth it. You are worth it, and you can get help, and you can find a way to find recovery, build positive connections, change your life, build a future. It's all possible. You just have to want it. You just have to do it one day at a time, and that'll be it. You'll start seeing results. I mean, honestly, if you just cut the alcohol out or the drug out or whatever, the stuff that is ruining your life, you just stop it, and you get clean, and you start figuring it out. You start seeing that you start making these real connections with people and you start moving forward and you start building things that you never thought you could build. And you have a life in front of you. You have a future. You have something to live for. You have something to die for. You have something to, you know, give people. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to end it there. Positive connections, man. Go out and make them daily. Try to make as many positive connections as you can. Um, I'd just like to thank the people that I surround myself with, all my friends, my family, my wife and my kids, my in-laws, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, mother-in-law. They're all wonderful people, and I'm very, very lucky that I've made these positive connections in my life, um, because they are the thing that keeps me going. They're the things that keeps me moving forward. They're the thing that keeps me challenging myself and putting myself out there. And, their support to this podcast is huge because, before I started this, I never thought I could do it. I never thought it was, I was living in fear of doing it. I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have, you know, I just thought it would fail. And luckily I pushed myself. I'm outside my comfort zone. I'm doing something that most people don't ever do. And I'm doing the best I can and I'm having a great time doing it and sharing stuff with you guys. So continue to listen, continue to support. Go over to the merch page, grab some merch, support the cause, help people in recovery. Check out the Recovery Coach Academy. If you need a graphic design, the Culture Soldier is your guy. Find him. I'll drop all the links in the bio for the YouTube. So head over and check these guys out because they're hugely impactful and they will help you in your life. All right, guys, have a good one. This is James, and I'm out.